The Rookie Diary series is back, and today the focus is on the tight end unit. Is there a chance rookie tight end Luke Lachey can secure a spot on the 53-man roster by having a impressive training camp, or should we face the reality, face the music, that as a seventh-round pick, his future may be uncertain? Additionally, if you could bring back one player from the past era of Texan football to join this current roster, who would it be?
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Battle Red Nation, from H-Town to your town. Today's show and every episode of the Locked On Texan podcast is for Texan fans all around. I am your Texans football analyst, credential media member, John Hickman. Excited for today's podcast because we are back with the Rookie Diary series, a series that a few of you guys have really enjoyed. But I can't wait to dive into Luke Lachey. Today's episode is all about untapped potential, and if that untapped potential can land Lachey on the roster. We close out today's episode with going era for era. If you can pull just one player from the past era to add to this team, what player would it be? And for some of you guys, I want to hear, how do you feel about personnel being added from a previous era of Texan football to this era of Texans football? Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. I want to shout out all of our everydayers from the Himalayas. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Who is seventh-round rookie tight end Luke Lachey? 6'6", 250, high school, played wide receiver, tight end, and some DB. He is the son of former NFL All-Pro and Super Bowl champion tackle Jim Lachey. Before focusing on football, he was all basketball. He was committed to basketball. That was his focus. Then he ended up at Iowa, red-shirted in 2020 at Iowa. Over the course of 2021 through 2024, he played in 40 games, 24 starts, 74 catches, 760 yards, 4 TDs. With his breakout 2022 season, he earned honorable mention All Big 10 team, He has never been a high-volume player at Iowa, had 2 seasons where he had a target share of 5% or less, 4.7 40-yard dash, a vertical jump of 35, broad jump of 120, arm span 79 inches, hand size 10 inches. Lachey he's a very interesting prospect in my opinion. Obviously, again, we got to put emphasis on the young man is a 7th rounder. So he'll be coming into camp with no real expectations. When you look at the saviors for this Texans team, analyzing the rookie draft class, the 2 Iowa State boys, they pop off. They really need Higgins to be a damn good number 2. They really need Jalen Noel to be somewhat of a gadget player, inside, outside guy, special teamer that you can count on to return punts and kickoff returns. They need those guys. They really need Arian Terrestre to eventually be a stud tackle, whether right or left, and I think it'll be a left. They really need that. For Lachey, he's coming in training camp, blank slate. Son, we liked your tape. We like what we saw when we were evaluating you. We also knew that you'd be available in the 7th round. All right, these are some of the conversations that I'm sure, internally, that they're having. We like you, but first, second, and third rounders, maybe 4th rounders, they get that leash. A 7th rounder, you got to come in and be able to do a bunch of different things to make the roster because you're a 7th round pick, right? So he'll be coming into camp with no real expectation, but the tape shows that at his peak, he can be a useful player for the Houston Texans. The biggest critique that I've heard surrounding Dalton Schultz, and by no means am I saying Lachey will take Schultz's position. I'm not saying that, but you'll hear about Schultz's lack of aggressiveness as a ball carrier, and that will also play into how he goes about blocking. That's been a big knock on Dalton Schultz for a very long time. But if we look at 2024, that was the knock on Schultz. Lachey is a work in progress. He is a project player. He needs work, needs refinement in some of the areas of his game. But what has never been in question is the physicality he brings to the game. And the swarm mentality, the culture, the swarm culture, I 100% believe will embrace that young man. If you be physical, if you play fast enough, you hit hard enough, you play the game the right way, then the Houston Texans could find a spot for you. This leads me to believe that his value starting day one will not come from being a receiving threat, but his value would be in the form of assisting the offensive line when they call on him and when he's in 12 personnel, giving them an extra boost. I think this preseason is going to be extremely fun. Run blocking is a strength of Lachey. Scheme versatile, can help immediately in a 2 tight end heavy set. That is number one. And alongside of that, Lachey is a case of, I believe, untapped potential. And a lot of that was due to the injury in 2023, plus what some consider a historically bad quarterback play the last 2 seasons from Iowa. But I take a look at 2022, that was his breakout year, 28 receptions, nearly 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. 3 of those came in red zone situations. His red zone catch rate, 75% on targets inside the 20. This information is per PFF College. The potential is absolutely there with Lachey, guys. And again, emphasis on 7th round pick. Houston could very well say thank you for everything that you're bringing during training camp. We are going to put you away on our practice squad. The potential is there with Lachey. And with Nick Kelly's background of coaching tight ends, my belief is this preseason will be intensive, and I think we'll get a very good look at Lachey's untapped potential. But it ain't going to all just be on his own. No, he's going to need some help. He's going to need some guidance. The transition from where Iowa puts out some damn good tight ends, but he didn't benefit from the targets. He didn't benefit from the quarterback play. So the transition from his role at Iowa to a role that may be already defined for him in year 1 and year 2 maybe, he's going to need assistance getting over that college to the NFL hump. And that's where I want to transition to next when I look at the rookie diaries. How can Lachey make this roster, and will the important moving parts, how can those moving parts help Lachey's chances to make this roster come this fall? We got more Locked On Texans on the way. Stay locked in on today's Locked On Texans podcast. However, guys, you ever just lose count and mismanage your money? You ever wish managing your money felt easier with Monarch Money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Was there a specific category like takeout or subscriptions that you're looking to kind of step away from that added up more than what you were expecting? Monarch Money helps you out with that. And if you share finances with someone, Monarch helps you stay on the same page with your partner. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off of your first year. Battle Red Nation, thank you for staying locked in on today's Locked On Texan podcast. The conversation around Luke Lachey as we continue with our rookie diaries. Gave you guys a little bit of insight on what Lachey does well, right? He's already experienced in being the number 2 man in a 12 personnel set. Has that experience. In his best year, he's a very good red zone threat, something that the Houston Texans need to add to their offense. And I think with more time in terms of protection, they'll be a better red zone team. And I'm not saying that Luke Lachey can come in and just take over day one. That's not what I'm saying. But he has that in his bag. He also is a very good run blocker, can improve in pass blocking whenever those opportunities came to him. But he's a good run blocker. That's one of his strengths. But how can he get on the field? Is there a role for Lachey on this team? And who could be the catalyst for his chances of staying? The current depth chart looks like this. Dalton Schultz, Brevin Jordan, Cade Stover, Luke Lachey. Also keep in mind, Irv Smith is on this roster. In college, Lachey was a core piece of Iowa's 12 personnel sets. Frequently lined up with another tight end in line or some flex roles, primarily for blocking, but sometimes for passing as well, especially on goal line and zone run packages. Now, is it me, or does it feel like, even with no expectations for the young man, Lachey fell to the best situation for himself? Like, he is walking into a room that features two guys that I want you to understand has been around some good tight ends and help offenses involve their tight ends. Nick Caley, Jerry Sapinski. Two guys that were around for the prime. Grunk and a part of the coaching staffs that got career years from guys like Dwayne Allen. Was a key blocker in the New England's two tight end sets. Allen credited the Patriot staffs, including Jerry Sapinski, for expanding his understanding of pre-snap reads and play action assignments. Evan Ingram had a Pro Bowl season in 2020. Jerry Sapinski helped reinforce Ingram's usage in intermediate zones and yak opportunities. Coaching matters is what I'm getting at. And Coach Jerry is a name that I want people to remember when we get to discussing where Lachey can grow as an NFL prospect. He's been around and had successful seasons with Josh McDaniels, Chad O'Shea, Brian Flores, Joe Judge, and other coaches from the Patriots background and the Patriots tree. And so it would be kind of ignorant of me if I just overlook, okay, well, Ko Popovich, Nick Caley, and now Jerry, they've worked together in some form or fashion before. They have the same background. They understand what their idea of success looks like. And with that conversations that they're having and what success looks like for them, Coach Jerry has been amazing for tight ends, young, mid-age tight ends that may have already had some thread on their tire. He's been great for them in terms of getting them to a couple of things. Played a major role with his offensive input that led to some of these guys having big years. And also just understanding being around Tom Brady and how that has helped other quarterbacks, just understanding from a tight end perspective what that tight end could possibly be in an offense, whether they are a feature, like you're going to have a prominent role in this offense, Gronkowski and Evan Ingram, or if you're a guy like Dwayne Allen. They're going to find a role for you, but it's all about honing your skills and being ready when they call upon you, especially intellectually. He's not always been listed as a primary tight end coach. His background in offensive schemes, quarterback development, and Patriot-style details has had a clear impact on several tight ends' growth in the NFL. And I'm sure his ear will be on the beat. He'll be learning what C.J. Stroud is looking for from his guys and using that to boost situational awareness. He'll be working with Ko Popovich and getting an understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of the offensive line. His advantage will simply be being smarter and knowing what to do, and also be an absolute physical freak. And I'm saying this in regards to Luke Lachey partnering with Coach Jerry Sapinski. Realistically, Lachey is fighting for tight end 3, tight end 4, and because of experience that the other guys on the roster has over him, he may not make the initial roster. I think there is a strong possibility that Houston views him as a project that can be somebody that can pan out down the line later, a year or two down the line. And because of this, him being a seventh rounder, there's no rush to get him on the field. What is interesting is Brevin Jordan is coming back. Does Brevin Jordan still fit what the offense is going to ask of him and what the offense is going to ask of the tight ends? And can his athleticism still be a weapon for the Houston Texans? Keep in mind, Brevin Jordan signed a 1-year extension, so he doesn't have a long life left with the Houston Texans. This is going to be a major year for Jordan because he's going to want to re-up on a new deal, whether it's in Houston or somewhere else. I like that Luke is coming in with a high IQ, very intelligent. Like I went and did some research on the young man. Coaches speak highly of how he prepares for the game from a mental standpoint. I also like that when we mention physical tight ends, we often use that as a way to say, man, he is physical at the point of attack in terms of blocking. And he is. Again, there's some things he can work on, but he's also physical with the ball in his hands. People talk about Dalton Schultz and now he'll try to leap over you instead of running through contact. Then you look at Lachey's ability to be a red zone threat in his peak year. Something that at one point Houston was trying to get out of Tegan Quatoriano, just never panned out because of health. So I believe that what is his chance to make the initial roster? Well, after all the cuts are made, I don't think he makes it initially. I think he'll be on the practice squad. But we've seen the Houston Texans, especially at the tight end position, call up tight ends before. Jordan Akins was one of them a couple of years ago, Irv Smith, right? Like guys will be regulated to the practice squad, and then when they're ready, Houston will call them up. But I do like the potential that this young man brings, not for year one, and honestly, maybe not even for year two, but once he gets an opportunity to be a part of the rotation, just being an impactful player. Special teams is where he could probably be the most impactful. And with preseason coming up, and this preseason, not coming up now, training camp is coming up first, but with this preseason being looked at as a preseason where the competition will be much more feistier, guys are going to have to be out there for real and compete for real. I'm not ruling him out. Not just yet. Not ruling him out just yet. Because if you compete and if you win that competition, it's been said, Houston will find a role for you. They're not married to a guy, especially the lower level guys. And I'll say this, the Texans have given out 1-year extensions in the past, and those players didn't make the roster. They moved on from them. Houston does that a lot of times for guys that they appreciate everything that you brought to the franchise, professionalism, everything that you sacrificed to get on the field, plays that you made on the field. But we've seen from D'Amico Ryans as of late, thank you for your services. I got to go win a Super Bowl. So the best man who wins, the best man will be on the roster. Now we can have a little fun. Let's travel through time a little bit. Let's take it back. What player in franchise history would you take from that era of Texan football and put that player on this era of Texan football? We got a fun conversation before we close out today's podcast. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Thank you for making Locked On Texans your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Scouting. Training camp is getting closer and closer. We're about 3 weeks away. Moves are still being made. And host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Closing out today's episode, just having a fun conversation. Era for era, what player would you take in the 20-year existence of the Houston Texans franchise and place him from that era to this era of Texans football. So going from the early eras, the mid eras, the late 2010 eras to the 2020 version of the Houston Texans football. And so here's what we're not going to try to replace guys at positions that are already clearly filled. That being said, I'm not bringing back JJ. I'm not. And I don't want it to happen in real life unless the Texans can find a way and sign him on a one-day contract when they make the Super Bowl or something like that. But no to JJ Watt. I think Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, they got it sold up. And I'm not going with he played a 3 at times. No, I'm not doing that. That said, I feel like Dwayne Brown is the clear-cut guy that if I could move any Texans player from one era to the next, it's going to always be Dwayne Brown. It's going to always be Dwayne Brown. The best Texans offensive lineman in franchise history. Now, granted, in the last era of Texan football, this is dating back to, a few months ago, last season, you can make the case in the argument, well, why would you bring back Dwayne Brown when you got Laramie Tunsil? I think Dwayne Brown is a better player, but I can understand that. This era of Texas football, currently, there's no Laramie Tunsil. There's no Dwayne Brown. So I'm bringing back Dwayne Brown. Number 2 on my list, a lot of hype around what the rookies can do, looking at the rookie receivers, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel. But if I can get a Nico Collins with an Andre Johnson, that's scary. Plus, I believe Andre Johnson is the best receiver in franchise history. So it's easy for me to say, all right, well, I can look at the rookies and I have expectation for those guys, but they haven't played a down of football yet. I'm bringing over Andre Johnson. Number 3, Chris Myers. Chris Myers, again, the best center in franchise history. 2-time Pro Bowl, I believe, for the Houston Texans. He would absolutely shut down who's going to be the center. The competition right now is between Jake Andrews, Juice Scruggs, excuse me. That's the competition. Chris Myers got that, and it ain't even close. Number 4. The Texans struggled a lot last season when there was no DJ Reader. I mean, when there was no Fola Fadakowski, and I just gave it away. DJ Reader would be the guy that I would bring back to help solidify this run defense. DJ Reader on the inside with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter on the outside. Team's not going to be able to run on that because he does his job. He's always been a player that did his job, did it to a high level, and didn't compromise the integrity of the inside of that defense. So I'm bringing back DJ Reader. Now, I was thinking about other guys, and I wanted to mention D'Amico Ryans, but he can't be a coach and play at the same time. Plus, I also like this linebacker group, but if it would, I would bring back, if D'Amico Ryans was not the head coach of the Houston Texans, I would absolutely bring back D'Amico Ryans, and I think that would eliminate any conversation on the future at linebacker or wondering who's going to be healthy or not. D'Amico Ryans was a guy. J-Joe was a guy, and I like Kamari a lot. But imagine Stingley, J-Joe, Kamari. Ooh, Miles Bryant is in that mix with the nickel cornerback, being a part of that cornerback room. I thought about J-Joe and I thought about Daniel Manning. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson is back there, and not Kamari, but Kalen Bullock is back there. So the question would be, do you guys like the idea of Manning and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, or would you rather leave it at Bullock and C.J. Gardner-Johnson? But when I look at the list that I created, again, 2 offensive linemen, a D tackle, those are the positions, especially offensive linemen, that has the most question marks surrounding it. And then the question marks surrounding what boost can these rookie receivers bring to the wide receiver room? And there's no question about it. Andre Johnson, he's always going to be the for sure, no matter what quarterback he's playing with, no matter who he's lined up against, he can always go out there and make a play. And if it wasn't for Andre Johnson being on his franchise, D-Hop would clearly be the receiver that I would bring back. So era for era, I address tackle, I address center, I addressed D tackle. And if I could, I would absolutely bring back D'Amico Ryans if he was not the coach of the Houston Texans right now. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Locked On Texan podcast, for checking out the Rookie Diaries. Luke Lachey, untapped potential. It's just going to take some time to get there if it ever does. So be patient. Have no expectations, not low expectations. Have no expectations, but get ready to watch this young man ball out. Training camp is in 3 weeks. Preseason will be fun this year. We're going to get these guys scrapping. They fighting. They're going to be competing for a spot on this team. And again, D'Amico Ryans' message has been clear and consistent. The best guys will get the opportunity. They're not married to anybody anymore. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texan podcast on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow me on Twitter at John_Hickman12. Until we meet again, ladies and gents, Texan fans across the nation, peace.